We're going to call to order our meeting today with Salina City Planning Commission. We'll be doing Landscaping Awards of Excellence today, so we're all excited for this. It's my favorite meeting of the year. But I'm going to turn it over to staff, to Mr. Andrew, to handle the rest of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. October is National Community Planning Month, and so we are pleased as part of National Community Planning Month every year to have an annual landscape award ceremony. And part of that is the Planning Commission working in conjunction with the Tree Advisory Board. And we have Sydney Soderberg here, who is the chairman of the Tree Advisory Board and also a former planning commissioner, so she has double qualifications. And so every year we have awards that we hand out. The first award category is called the Golden Leaf Award, and that is a special award that is created by the Tree Advisory Board. And this year they have nominated the Quick Shop project at 1727 West Crawford as the recipient for that. And of course the owner and developer of that property is Quick Shop Inc. The designer of that landscape is Isaac Krumey, who was with Professional Engineering Consultants doing the design work at the time. And then Landscape Consultants and Matt Wagner, a local firm, was design and installer for that project. You have at your places a program here with a little bit of narrative, but to give you an example, some of you are familiar with Centennial Road being relocated, and it originally came right next to the Quick Shop facility there, and in 1995 it was relocated 140 feet to the west so it would match up with the street across the street and was able to be signalized. And what that did was created a strip over there 140 feet wide between the roadway and the existing Quick Shop store. And Mr. Story and I have a history with this project. I went through 4 Quick Shop real estate managers before we finally got to the point where we could put this project together. But the challenge was that the city's right-of-way was not fully under the city's control to give it up, and we finally got that solved in 2011. So what occurred was that in partnership between the city and Quick Shop, the right-of-way for Centennial Road was vacated, and that reverted back to the ownership of the original heirs of the property, who then transferred it to Quick Shop. And what that enabled Quick Shop to do was to increase the size of their store, go from 2 fuel islands to 10 fuel islands, and then also accommodate some green space on the site. So the challenge that Mr. Krumey had was that even though the site had grown appreciably, so had the facilities that Quick Shop was trying to accommodate on the property. So what we were trying to achieve here was to have a buffer between Quick Shop and the residences to the south, have an attractive frontage on the 3 frontages to the property, and also have a bit of a gateway feature. So the Planning Commission was involved in this through approval of the site plan and landscape plan. The City Commission approved a cooperative agreement between Quick Shop and the city that involved the landscaping of the right-of-way along Centennial Road as well as Crawford. So there's an ongoing maintenance agreement, and essentially what the agreement was that in exchange for landscaping and beautifying the city's right-of-way, the city allowed Quick Shop to better utilize their site and have much of their front yard landscaping not on their front yard but within the city right-of-way. The other thing was that it accommodated a detention basin for the site, and And that detention basin was designed in a way that the average passerby would not know that that's a detention basin because it's incorporated into the landscape plan. So the plan that we have that's designed here has 20 total tree units. 9 of those are along Centennial, 3 along the Crawford frontage. There were some junipers that were planted out there by Parks and Recreation as kind of an experimental gateway project. Those were relocated and replanted by Quick Shop. And then the detention pond area has a mixture of native wildflowers and grasses around the southern portion. So the Tree Advisory Board felt that this was a notable and worthy project that was deserving of special recognition, primarily because it's at a major gateway into the city from the west. And one of the things that the Planning Commission and City Commission have been involved with is trying to improve the appearance of our gateways into the city. The other thing is that this project involved a cooperative effort between the city and Quick Shop. So this cooperative venture has been selected for the Tree Advisory Board Golden Leaf Award. And it's my understanding that Ben Mugridge with Quick Shop is here, and we'd like to have Brett with Parks and Recreation present a plaque to him if he's here and wants to come forward. So we're going to have each of our recipients pose for a photo with John. This is Isaac Crumey, who is now with Treetop Nursery, as I understand it. And we have a separate plaque for you individually. So. And we also have Matt Wagner and Dan Fiorello here from Landscape Consultants, and they were involved in Dan have collected a few of these over time, but we also always want to give them recognition when they've done something that has an impact on the community. Our next category is what we refer to as a new development category, and that is generally a property that was undeveloped that has been recently developed, and the project that was selected for that is the K-Woods. And if you are familiar with that, that is on the north side of Schilling Road, intersecting with K-Wood Drive. And the Planning Commission, again, was involved in that in various steps. But in 2012, Roger Simpson entered into a contract to purchase the west 180 feet of this block along Schilling Road, and his vision was to develop a senior housing project. And so he came up with a plan for 4 4-unit apartment buildings that are built in a row from north to south along the east side of K-Wood Drive. And each of those are a single-story slab with shingles that are residential in design. And he also designed a fence around the perimeter that has brick posts and black powder-coated steel fence. And the Planning Commission approved a plan for this project in late 2012. And the project was completed in 2 phases in 2014 and 2016. But what we think is notable about this is, one, they use drought-tolerant, warm-season turf grass for their turf grass, and it was very well established. It's sometimes a struggle to get the warm-season grasses to take, but it really worked out well here. And then this project contains all the elements of our landscape regulations, including trees in the front yard, a berm along the east, a buffer between the parking area and the homes to the east, and kind of touching it all off is a very attractive ornamental fence around 3 sides of the property. So we felt that this was notable because all the landscape elements blend together and makes this project fit in well with the surrounding residential neighborhood. So the people we would like to recognize are Roger Simpson, the developer, and Mr. Simpson is actually in North Carolina assisting with flood relief down there and is not able to be with us today, but he worked with Derek Bernhardt of Naturescapes Lawn and Landscape as the designer installer. So I believe Derek's here, and we'd like you to come forward and accept plaques for yourself and for Roger Simpson. The next category we selected and try to do each year is a redevelopment project, which is a redevelopment that or something that occurs on an existing property. And as many of you are aware, the Bicentennial Center was constructed in 1977 and 1978, and it opened its doors in 1979. And up until recently, you could pretty well tell that it was constructed in that period. There had not been a lot of updates or changes to that facility, but that all changed in 2012. First of all, the city entered into an agreement with Global Spectrum, and the agreement was to allow Global Spectrum to operate and manage the facility on the city's behalf. And so that took place in 2012. And then in 2012, the City Commission put together a capital improvements plan for making improvements to the Bicentennial Center to extend its life and its capacity, its marketability, and competitiveness. And so in 2014, they approved financing authorization to spend about $12.9 million on improvements there, as well as to the entryway out at Ohio Street and Midway, where you see the sign. And also, as we speak, there is crews from Blueville Nursery out there installing some landscaping at that location as well. But as part of that project, there was a project to redesign the north entry plaza into the Bicentennial Center. And Convergence Design was the overall design professional on this. McCown Gordon was the contractor, but Convergence Design retained Landwork Studio of Olathe to help design the landscaping for the new entry plaza. And some of that includes drought-tolerant plantings, ornamental grasses. We've got cut stone barriers that also serve as benches out there, and stamped concrete pavers. And the centerpiece of that is a public art piece that was designed by Matthew DeHamers of Shawnee, Kansas. And you can see that in this particular photograph. It is that's kind of the centerpiece of the plaza. And I think the one thing that's notable is that the artist worked with the designers and the landscapers essentially to integrate the piece into the planter space and make it all fit together. And the concept of that was inspiration of prairie fire and how fire regenerates the prairie each year. So the artist described his work as being inspired by the surrounding region of Salina, specifically the open prairie of Kansas. In order for this ecosystem to thrive, the prairie is burned annually. And so this has cut glass that changes from daytime to nighttime and reflects and refracts that light. So we think that this project successfully integrates living and non-living material and public art to create a more inviting entrance into the facility. And because of that and the high level of maintenance of this area, we believe that this is worthy of special recognition. So with that, I'd like to introduce Ron Rideout. He is the general manager of the facility, the Bicentennial Center. And if he could come forward, we have a plaque for him for overseeing all the renovations over there. And he was also involved in getting the sign in place out there on Ohio Street. We also want to recognize Carissa McMullen with Landwork Studio in Olathe, who was involved in the design for this area. And we also want to have Tim Sharp with us from Blueville Nursery in Manhattan. I understand it, Tim, your crews are out working at the intersection as we speak. So sign came first, but the landscaping is to follow. And our final project, the Planning Commission asked if each year, and it doesn't have to be just landscaping, but you asked if we could create a curb appeal category. And a curb appeal might be a small project or just an incremental step to make an area or neighborhood look better than it has. And if you're familiar with the Chuck's Bar project, there was a building at the corner of Santa Fe and Lincoln for many years. It dates back to the 1920s. It was somewhat in disrepair. There was also a somewhat dilapidated house on the property, and Rusty Leister purchased that from Chuck Fairchild, and he demolished part of the building and the adjacent house, and he reconstructed a new and improved Chuck's Bar at that location. And then as part of that, there was a sidewalk, and there was existing recessed parking that was kind of repurposed there. And as part of that project, the North Salina Community Development Group saw this as an opportunity to improve the streetscape along North Santa Fe. And so Darren Wright, who's worked with that group before, was involved in designing a planting plan for that. And we had volunteers from North Salina Community Development Group plant trees, low-growing shrubs, install rocks and mulch in the right-of-way area there. And then there's an intended second phase of the project that will involve installation of a sculpture that was designed by D. Warren and donated to North Salina Community Development, which in turn donated that to the city. So Chuck's Bars is a unique development because this is a zero lot line building that's outside our central business district, so it has no front yard. But the opportunity existed to make it more attractive by improving the streetscape. And so I think you'll agree with me that the curb appeal of not only this property but also Mid-States Energy Works set an example for things that can be done on a streetscape. And we think building on what Bankston Tire Center did and the OCCK facility, we think this sets an example in an area that has been lacking in front yard landscaping. The other thing that's notable is this is in an I-2 district, which does not require landscaping, so all of this was done on a voluntary basis. And we think for that reason it's deserving of recognition through a curb appeal award. I don't know if we have Mr. Leister present, but we do want to recognize Darren Wright, who helped with the design of this project. If Darren could come forward. also have Barb Young here, who I believe will be representing the numerous volunteers from North Salina Community Development. And then we have Josh Schmaderer here. Hi, Josh. Josh is representing his father, Mike, who is the owner of Mid-States Energy Works. And so this project not only involves the Chuck Bars frontage, but as well Mid-States Energy Works. So we have identified 4 projects. We want to thank all those who participated in today's ceremony, and we hope we'll get a warm round of applause for all the recipients today. And we want to thank you for the Tree Advisory Board and Planning Commission for your support of local landscaping.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
While the tree board is still here, I would like to recommend to the tree board that they initiate another award for native plant landscaping, plants specific to north central Kansas.
Thank you. Any other business?
We have no other business other than to adjourn the award ceremony, and then the only item we have on your regular agenda is the consent item to see if you have reviewed and wish to approve your minutes from your last meeting.
Thank you.
I would move to approve them as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from our last meeting. All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
We have no other meeting items for you, so please go enjoy today's weather.
Again, congratulations, everyone, and thank you so much for beautifying Salina.